What's up guys, it's Will back again, and today's review is The Skin I Live In. The Skin I Live In is a 2011 Spanish thriller film that was written and directed by Pedro Almodóvar and is based on the 1984 novel entitled Mygale. This film was first requested to me by Dominic Chambers back on my The Guest review that I released back on the 2nd of March. So just a heads up, this is definitely going to be another very vague plot description because there's just too much in the trailer to give things away. The Skin I Live In primarily follows Antonio Banderas' character Robert Ledgard, a plastic surgeon who lives with his mother and a mysterious woman named Vera at his private estate in Spain. Vera, played by Elena Anaya, ends up living at this mysterious estate under some unusual circumstances and is constantly monitored by Robert for reasons I can't really get into because, you know, spoilers. And the rest of the film is spent watching Robert improve his craft as a plastic surgeon and also monitor Vera as tensions continue to escalate in the Ledgard family and of course at the Ledgard estate in Spain. Okay, so yeah, I may not be driving too many people to go out and pick up a copy of The Skin I Live In with that plot description, but hey, you gotta be super vague with this plot because there's spoiler landmines basically everywhere. Let me start by saying this though, I think The Skin I Live In is a movie that a lot of people are really going to enjoy because it's super fucked up and crazy, and if there's anything I know about you guys based on your previous requests, it's that you like super fucked up and crazy. It's kind of your thing. This film is definitely unique. It contains a twist that you're more than likely not gonna see coming, it's got tension, and it's well acted, but ultimately I just had a so-so time with this one. I actually was a little underwhelmed as a whole with my viewing experience. I was underwhelmed because in the first half of the film, I just felt like there wasn't really a clear direction, and that's honestly because things really don't start becoming at least partially clear until the second half of the movie where you're introduced to other plot lines. These other plot lines mesh with the existing ones and ultimately make sense, but I think there isn't really enough going on in the first half that will hold your interest at a super high level. Some of the scenes that do occur in this movie are also a little too out there for me. One in particular was just so bizarre that I couldn't really sink myself into the story. I don't necessarily think this movie is going for any sort of realism necessarily, but it almost comes across as a really dark comedy sometimes with just how out there some of the content is. And like I said, this is really going to work for a certain type of moviegoer who's looking for a super weird and out there film, because The Skin I Live In is definitely both of those things. Generally, I don't mind watching movies like that, but there are certain scenes in this film that just lack the necessary realism to really have much of an impact on me. That said though, I do think there are a lot of scenes in this film that execute the tension you generally expect and feel from a thriller film very nicely. I definitely felt nervous watching some of these things happen, but I think the most interesting bit is that generally you don't feel like you're rooting for one character's interests over the others. At least in the first half anyway. In the second half, particularly near the end, you'll definitely start to pick a side because you'll realize one interest is definitely a little bit crazier than the others, but I don't think any of these characters are particularly likable in any respect really. From an acting standpoint though, I think there are two great performances in this film. Antonio Banderas is fantastic as Robert because he delivers a layered performance. Robert is definitely a character that has some emotional baggage and he's motivated to achieve certain things in his career because of that baggage. As the film progresses though, he becomes more willing to engage in unethical behavior because he feels the ends justify the means. I think Robert is a really interesting character and Antonio Banderas was a really good fit in the role. I also really enjoyed Elena Anaya in the role of Vera because she relays a lot of emotion without having too many actual lines. She definitely speaks a decent amount, but she relays a lot more information about her character through her facial expressions and emotional subtleties. She is really good in this role, and Vera was honestly my favorite character. I also say that the twist is really good too because it's twisted and it's unexpected and it's just super crazy and really makes the story feel that much more unusual and unsettling. There's definitely more to this film than meets the eye, so if you do end up watching it, just prepare yourself because there's a decent amount of graphic imagery and general craziness. One last con though, the construction of this movie bugged me a little bit because it can be a little confusing. There's periods of time where I wasn't sure if I was watching the past or the present, and there are certain scenes that are more easily interpreted than others, but generally I felt like the pacing just seemed a little bit off, and the construction too. There's certain scenes that don't feel like they progressively build on the ones before them, and that diminished my experience just a bit as well. But overall, for me, The Skin I Live In was a very so-so experience. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it either. I thought it had some great acting from its two main characters, a unique and often tense thriller story, and a crazy twist that is super dark and twisted. Sadly, I also felt the first half of the movie was underwhelming, the overly bizarre nature of certain scenes limits immersion, and the pacing and construction felt a bit off to me. I'm going to give The Skin I Live In a 6.5 out of 10, and honestly this one is a toss-up for me. I'm going to go ahead and say you should pass on this one, but it could go either way. If you're looking for a crazy and unique thriller film, this could be the movie for you. It just wasn't for me. So if you guys seen The Skin I Live In yet, what did you think of it? And if not, let me know why not. And if you disagree with me on this one, let me know in the comments below. I may be in the minority here, but we're all different and honesty is key. That's all for now though. This is WillFoxification signing off. See you in the next review.